folks, we are going to open up questioning for Coach Jim Knowles. Front row right here, Austin Ward.
Jim, if Lathan is out for a couple weeks, what would that do to the configuration, you think? We saw Sonny and Jordan play a little bit more together on Saturday. Would that be the way you think you'd continue?
Yeah, I think that's highly possible.
What do you like about, or what concerns would you have, either way, I guess, if pairing those two together?
No concerns. I think they've both proven themselves in a lot of different dimensions, so I don't have any concerns about it.
Far left, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
When you guys were first looking at Davison from the portal, just what maybe jumped out at you immediately that this was somebody that you needed to pursue hard?
He's aggressive. He plays with confidence, gets his hands on people. He's not afraid to fight at corner and challenge people. You can see that. And he's a willing tackler. Like, he really throws himself in there in the run game, which I think is you don't see that in corners all the time.
Did that have a greater value to you coming off of last season? Because that was, I know because of injuries and other things, but that was an element that was kind of missing from that group.
Yeah, it was a dynamic I think we needed. He raised the level of all the guys around him. Competed, as a new guy, you come in, he's competing in practice, and everybody sees that, and he's not intimidated by anybody. So, yeah, I think it helped a lot.
Right behind him, Joe Nugent, WCMH.
8 games into the season, only one player has rushed for more than 100 yards against you guys. How much of that is improved defense, and how much of that is different college football these days?
Our game is such a week-to-week thing, and you're just trying to get better all the time. And, I feel like it's improvement. I feel like it's confidence. Guys understanding the system and their role in it. Being able to handle the adjustments that happen, because, you spend a lot of time on a game plan, and sometimes that changes on Saturday, right? A lot of times it changes on Saturday as the game goes on. So I feel like, particularly in the run game, we're able to make adjustments, and I think it shows up.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, even before Lathan went out of the game, you had Sonny back there playing deep safety. Just what went into that decision to move him from nickel to safety last week?
It was just more of a nickel. It was more of a nickel game in terms of the matchup on the slot, and we felt like, Jordan would be better at that. So we wanted to find places to get Sonny into the game. And against a spread RPO team, playing him at high safety worked, and it's a good thing we did it.
When you think about Sonny's long-term future, do you think that playing one of those high safety spots could be the long-term plan for him?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think, he's now getting experience at both, and I think he can really add a different dimension, as you look to the future and structuring things, so he can be in there with other guys and end up in different places and add some unpredictability to it.
Fourth row right, Andy Backstrom, Letterman row.
Jim, in terms of the run defense, Jack Sawyer seems like he's really stepped up the last few weeks in that regard. Is he someone that you kind of have to watch the game twice to really realize everything he's doing against the run?
Yeah, I think so. I think anybody who's serious about watching the game and studying it, like I know you men and women are, probably more at the Ohio State than anywhere I've ever been. I mean, there's a lot of great football knowledge in the fan base and in the reporters. Yeah, so when you watch it, you see that he is controlling things at the line of scrimmage and getting off blocks. And I mean, I think all 3 of those plays in the goal line, he was involved in. He was involved in them, in those stops. Those are huge stops, huge stops as you look at the flow of the game. So, yeah, he's been doing that, and maybe that doesn't show up in the sack statistics, but it means a lot to the defense.
Jeremy, deep center field, Jeremy Birmingham, podcast.
Jim, you guys have not played what would be probably described as like an athletic quarterback yet this year. You played guys that move around in the pocket well. Obviously, Sam Hartman and those guys who played a lot of ball, but Wimsatt is a little bit different in the way that he's utilized. How does that change the plan for you this week, if at all? And does that mean you maybe have a different, expectation of what success is this week?
You always have. You have to have that element in the college game all the time, because anybody can do it. I think you have to put some things in to make sure you can control it more, rather than just be, hey, we're fundamentally sound, we got everything covered. You have to have some things where you're controlling that more.
Also, flattery works great with us, so just keep telling us how great we are if you don't mind.
I'm not going to say anything.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim, losing Lathan for however long, how does that change the nickel situation, because Sonny's no longer there? Is Jermaine a guy that could maybe give some depth there, or is he strictly an outside guy? Is Jordan going to be there the entire time? Like, how is all of this going to work in your mind and in practice?
Yeah, I mean, it changes. It changes. I don't know that it would necessarily be Jermaine. He's a true freshman, so you don't want to overload him with those responsibilities. But there are other corners, that where he can go to a corner and other guys can move inside who have more experience.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS.
Coach, I know you're not one to celebrate in the middle of the season, but is there any part of you that in the defense that has to appreciate what you guys have done so far to be able to kind of further grow, to say, hey, look, this is where we wanted to be. Now we're going into November. Let's finish it off.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time for celebration, but we have a whole category that we call, I say get better, and the defense, they say every day. And then I say things we're doing well and things we need to get better at. So it's all, and then we go through. So yeah, you're highlighting those things that you're doing well, and then you're fixing the things that you can get better at. It's just a constant process. But I think when you have more good things, it's better. It's the praise, correct. Praise, correct. My college professor, Ken Blanchard, 1 Minute Manager, right? That you praise, correct, instead of, maybe at other times it's correct, praise, So, I mean, when you have more of the positives to highlight, it just, I think it helps everybody.
Sorry about that, Coach. Tim May, on 3, Letterman Road.
Yeah, in that vein, you're sitting up in the press box. It seems like everybody has one good drive again. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Tim.
What's going through your but you know what I'm talking about. But what's going through your brain as that's happening, and then y'all quickly have fixed things. I mean,
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. What is going through? Okay, they got me there. You know what I mean? What is that?
Yeah, and you're right. That happens. I don't like it, So you're just constantly trying to learn. Like the whole process of a game is really, as my job is to not celebrate the good plays or get too down about the bad ones, right? You're just trying to process it and fix, or so. Yeah, and we've been able to adjust. So I think that's just, again, it's a good part of having guys who've been around in year 2. I think you can adjust quicker.
And one other quickie, you've been around the game for a long time. You played it and stuff.
I played Division 68 though. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't.
Doesn't matter, you play.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, do you ever sit there and marvel at fellas who have the, I don't know, the audacity or just the determination to just give it up and play this game at the level it has to be played at from a physical standpoint of, like JT Tuimoloau getting back in there after taking that little shot or whatever it was, I don't know. I guess what goes into a defensive player's mindset that makes him play full speed, knowing the consequences?
Yeah, there's a toughness, obviously, that goes along with our sport, and then when you play defense, I think there's just an extra. We always talk about our honor, defending our team, defending our fan base, really it's like defending all that work, because they put in so much work. I mean, what people don't even know, they put in so much work. And you say what you want, but these guys work 365 days a year. So then you get these limited number of games, and really I think the extra toughness for them comes from the brotherhood, and it's like, hey, we put all this work in. Now it's our job to defend it. So it's a tough man's game, no doubt. And I think on defense, you're, like I always say, joke with offensive coaches, you can't punt on defense. You can't say, hey, we don't want to play anymore, can we get off the field? You can't do that. You have to stop them. That's what I tell them before every game is somebody has to make the tackle. Somebody has to put the other guy on the ground. And I think there's just a toughness that comes with that.
And Tommy's play on the shovel pass, was that just from what you watched on video, you saw it live, what you watched on video, what does that just say about him?
That was an amazing play. I mean, if you brilliant men and women of the media broke that play down, we actually did not hit the blitz right. If you watched it, we had two guys up the field. I think we had Caden and Jordan. Well, they were supposed to X. Jordan didn't X. So now Tommy should have had help on that, and he was left one-on-one with that, with just a goal line tackle, and really an amazing play. Really. I mean, I think that just epitomizes hopefully where we're at right now, toughness. And then, like I said about Jack Sawyer, I mean, you're talking about, the space from here to the wall. And, like, Jack Sawyer came, like, all the way around from the other side and wedged his body in there to push it back. So, I don't know. That's not sexy, but that's our game. I mean, that's what wins football games.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, was there a moment where you thought Cody was going to be able to have more of the snap share this year than he had last year? I know he didn't play last week, but generally last couple weeks he's played more. Was there a time where you felt like he was going to be
I still think that. Sometimes you get sometimes every time we put him in there, it was a 3 and out, and then all of a sudden you look at the end of the game and he doesn't have as many snaps as you want, and it just kind of works out that way when you start to put him in series. But I still believe that he's going to get more snaps, and he deserves it, and he's done a really good job.
When he's in there, what's the best thing he provides for you guys?
He is, he's really like a Mike linebacker at will, and he really kind of sees the field the same way Tommy does. And, he thinks a lot like I do. Like he and Tommy, they understand how I think and why I'm calling things, so he's like really an extra quarterback out there for us.
Right next door, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
How well has Lathan been playing?
Lathan's been much improved. His eyes, any issues he's had in the past, call it eye discipline, just like seeing too much, and he's really started to, like, I call it see a little to see a lot. Like, a lot of times at that safety position, you have to see just this, because that right there will tell you everything else that's going on. So yeah, he had really been improved.
Basically.
Yeah.
Wisconsin's quarterback lock got you on a quarterback draw. That was their biggest run play of the game.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. I'm sure it surprised you because he's not really a runner. Wimsatt is. So how much of a challenge is he going to be?
Yeah, definitely a challenge, and they're a team that likes to really control the ball. So you got to be very, very aware of that. You're right. That one was. When we review explosive plays, we have a category called defend explosives, right? I say defend explosives. They say 5 or less undefeated. So 5 or less explosive plays, we're going to win every game. But then I have to put them up there, and I have to talk about why they happened. So when that one came up, I had to say, okay, that's on me. I'd say that was my call was not good for that play. But with the guy we're facing this week, you have to be very aware of it.
Douglas Maurice, Kings of Columbus.
Cameron Martinez was in for a handful of snaps last game. I guess the dime look with 4 covered. How do you? We know sub packages are part of the deal, but just what's the process of when you decide to go to a look like that? When you decide to maybe stick with?
Yeah, it's all matchups. It's all matchups. Trying to get the right matchups. Cam's been a guy who, hasn't been healthy. We're just trying to work him back in. We think he can help us in those situations when the offense puts a lot of speed on the field.
And we talked about this a lot early in the season, but just the conversations you have with your defense now, maybe compared to a year ago, and in the spring and in the offseason, you were talking about like just that next level, that second year. Can you just describe a little bit like how they are maybe different right now compared to year one?
Yeah, I don't know that the conversations are different. The expectations are different. I think that's where it all goes. It's all about the expectations. When you're just trying to learn things and maybe trying to fake it until you make it, there's like a different feeling than whether you're going to stop them, that you expect to stop them, and here's why. So I just think the expectations are a lot different.
And we'll wrap it up with Bill Landis, the podcast.
Jim, the second down run stop that Hero made in the fourth quarter, I was surprised to kind of see him out there. I don't know if you were, but have you seen that coming for him? Like, that was a 7-point game. They're kind of near midfield, and a redshirt freshman who's hardly ever played makes a pretty big play there.
That was a really good play. I'm glad you saw that. And yeah, we had been seeing that with Hero. Hero's been a guy that's been showing up in inside drill, and he's been, we've been working him in a lot in practice. And yeah, I was really pleased with that play. That was a good play. He beat the block and made the tackle. That's a big deal. And our defensive tackles have been doing that a lot more this year. Not just using up blocks, but actually beating the block and making the tackle. That's a big deal. And Hero is doing a nice job.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.